Sons of the Southland for Monday, January 19th. It is college football national championship day for the football subdivision in 2026. I am Akshay Easwaran. Joining me as always are Jack Purdy and Jake Grant. Gentlemen, are you ready for Indiana to win a national title?
I think by at least 25 points too. Now that won't matter. This is coming out. No one's gonna listen to this until the game's over, anyways. But uh, that's where my
This could
head's
be
at
really
now.
bad, by the way. Like
I,
that
I,
shot call could be real. It could look really poor tomorrow
hey,
morning.
I don't care. I mean, I don't follow Indiana football outside of just looking at their numbers and watching them play the last few weeks, where they looked invincible. So that's recent sample size would suggest they should kill anybody. But we'll see. Miami's figured some things out too.
I've donned my home field apparel Indiana shirt. Sadly, Section 103 is not an Indiana school yet, but if you're going to wear home field, it might as well be for the guys that invented that company. So that's where my loyalties lie, guys. But I haven't made a secret about that. So.
Let's talk about other shifting loyalties with regards to the transfer portal, shall we? Let's start with that. Let's talk about football recruiting. Six changes, or I guess five changes, and one non-change, I guess you could call it. The transfer portal closed on Friday, or I guess the transfer window closed on Friday. So no one can enter, no one new can enter, but players that are already in there can still be recruited by other schools. The six changes on the deck for Georgia Tech: Isaiah Furman, wide receiver from Elon; Melvin Jordan, who was in the portal and on the roster last year, is now out of the portal. Javian Plummer, wide receiver from Cal; Gavin Harris, a tight end from New Mexico State; Jonas Duclona, a corner from South Florida; and then Tim Giffen, a defensive lineman from Cincinnati. All of those are coming down, or in one case, returning to the flats. Going the other direction, Pete Golding has acquired Taj Butler from this roster. So a lot of change. Actually, I guess it's not a ton of change given the exodus that we saw a couple of weeks ago. This is actually pretty mild, all things considered, huh, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really know who was going to play wide receiver for us, so we got that done. Tim Griffin on the defensive line side is we needed defensive line help. So these are spots we still needed some help in. So that's the promising thing is that we actually got some dudes here. Losing Tajay to Ole Miss is not fun. He was actually making a difference in the secondary when he was healthy at the end of the year. We did get our wide receiver coach in Jafar Williams. That was a decent get. He seems to be a decent hire. We still don't have the quarterback thing solved. Which is unless you want to count Graham Knowles as solved. Uh, there's been apparently there's been rumblings about the other Mendoza out there, and the people that play in the game tonight do get an extension for their transfer portal window because they are still playing on their team right now. So uh, there is a world where there is an Alberto Mendoza playing quarterback for Georgia Tech next year. If those tea leaves are anywhere remotely accurate, hard to tell because all that's crazy and they're still playing. He's still playing for Indiana right now, so they're not going to say anything until the national championship's over. Um, so who knows? I mean, Duke lost. It looks like they lost Darien Mensah this week after he jumped in the portal, and it seems like that might be a Miami thing. So
Oh man, time out on that 1 second. Did you hear what the deal was with him? I don't like doing message board rumors a ton on this show, but like,
it's as accurate
man,
of stuff that we've got to work with, unfortunately.
hold
But
on.
like
I have to go find this. It is an absolutely insane benefits deal.
it really
Like
is.
I have
It's
never seen something like this.
well, at least this
Bring it.
public. We've never seen it this
I,
public. Like who knows? I mean, who knows what people have been handing under the deck for a while? But it is very comprehensive. That is true.
Okay, so this is again, this is speculation. This is a message board thing. So we're not doing any reporting here. This is just for the shock value, especially if Jake, you've not heard this yet. Um, there are five parts. Number one, they're going to buy out and terminate, or Miami is going to buy out his Duke NIL deal and terminate it. Two, they're going to pay around $10 million dollars all in terms of salary and buyout fee to make that happen. Three, they're going to put him up at a country club in Miami for while he's playing for them. Four, apparently they're getting him some sort of Adidas deal and a brand campaign. And five, apparently, allegedly, reportedly, if you can call message boards a report, his sister, that is a soccer player at Oregon, is getting a full ride and plus an NIL deal to play at Miami.
Jeez.
It's what the hell?
And this is a guy that was already getting an absurd NIL deal from Duke.
Yeah,
Like this is something that we heard about all of last offseason where it was like eye opening the level that he was getting. They're buying out his contract at Duke and then paying him like 6 million cash on top of it. It's ridiculous.
yeah. I mean, Miami has gotten a recent influx of cash because all the CFP money they don't have to share with the ACC. So they are plus 20, 30 million dollars in the green here just merely off of these wins that they've had in the last month or so in the playoffs. So I mean that is a new amount of
Which
cash to use some strategy with. I don't know if they're using that particular cash to make the Mendoza to make the Darien deal work. If that's something they discovered, oh, now we can afford this. Who the hell knows? But it
which
is
really
interesting.
which really blows up one of the core tenets of like joining a conference in the first place. And yes, this is me maybe looking at it through like a 70s, 80s Georgia Tech trying to get back into a conference after being independent type of lens, but like banding all the bowl money together, like that all the conference payouts and stuff for hoops and whatnot, that was a big reason why they went out and sought that out. So it's interesting to see almost reverting back to the wild west, if you will, for 1960s era, why we left in the first place. I don't know. I don't think it means that people are about to exodus out of conferences or anything close to that.
No.
Just ask Notre
Not
Dame.
even
But
close, I don't
certainly,
think.
certainly something that crosses my mind. And until we see like what actually comes out of this deal, like
Right.
message board rumors are
Or
message
what
board
gets
rumors,
actually
right?
reported
Like,
that's and who knows what actually is true if it does happen, like how much they are actually going to end up paying him
I
because
mean,
they can say a
if
lot of things right now that they don't have to follow
I
through on
mean, look,
either.
Also,
like it would all be
I
public.
don't know anything about women's soccer because Georgia Tech does not have a women's soccer program. But if she's playing at Oregon, she's probably pretty good. So like,
Yeah.
or at least D1 quality. So
Yep.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe that's a legitimately positive competitive move. And I don't know. There's been some chatter and whatnot about people transferring to follow a significant other around or a dad or a brother type of thing. I don't think that's out of the picture if your brother just happens to be playing a different sport. What I mean, shoot, look at the Mendozas. They both wound up at Indiana this year, right? Like
Yeah.
not necessarily nothing either. Where it just jumps off the page because there's so much other crazy crazy
Right.
alleged
Right.
stuff going on right there,
All those things for one person and another person? What? Let's go. Yeah, it's wild.
Well, and it's the dollar amount, right? I think we talked about this a little bit the
Yeah.
other week when we were saying, like, look, no one knows what these market values are. It's like, is $6 million for Darien Mensah like a valid market value? Like we were hearing things like again, it's all message board rumors. Like message board rumors are saying like 4 million is what got Brendan Sorsby over, right? I
Mhm.
think that was the number that I saw. Like your top line quarterback is going for that amount, but like is 6 million a lot? Is 6 million a little? I know that $6 million is a lot, like
Yeah.
conceptually a lot of money. Like there are MLS transfer fees that are paid that are a lot lower than $6 million,
Right. Right.
right? Like,
Yeah.
and that's like proper professional sports. So I think it's the shock value. It's the shock value that he of like all of those benefits.
Yeah.
And I also wonder if this turns into like a Pepper Rogers thing of like, does he actually keep some of these benefits if he leaves? Jake, I see the smile on your face because you
That's
know exactly the
I
court
know.
case that I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
No, I know what you mean. It's just very this podcast that the two of us mention old bowl payouts and Pepper Rogers and Jack's on top of that the one who's the historian guy for the alumni association. So
Hmm.
if people want to get that kind of angle, were any of us there in person? No, we were not in the
Not at
room.
all.
But yeah, no, I think the same thing's true of even hirings and firings these days too. What not has been made about one Mr. Freeze's golf habits and whatnot, right? So who's to
Look,
say?
I think Hugh is doing just fine on the golf course, it seems. Still going every week, still going every Monday. He's getting those practice rounds in. He's got to use that money for something, that buyout money for something, right?
Well, it's certainly not going to hurt to have that to land on, if you will. But I don't know, guys. I don't have a lot more to add on football. I think it's about to go dormant. My brain is rapidly rocketing towards baseball. So,
We need it.
maybe
We need it. Well, one
yeah,
thing that did
maybe
come to mind with when you mentioned the Adidas like what campaign part of it, it reminded me of a thing that Alpert had said when he joined when he came on in the summer was he was talking about like yeah we've got to engage more of the local brands here in the city and make them part of the fold because there's a bunch of Fortune fives just sitting in the city like we got to engage that like that's a market that we got to be tapping and I know there's been a lot of football things for the team his team to solve and things like that this year and figuring out the Tennessee game and figuring out a gazillion other things in their first run through the school. But that's something I'm wondering if that becomes part of our pitches too. Is like, hey, we got this company here that we've got uniquely direct access to, and that becomes part of our pitches that we send to teams as well. That we're just not seeing as much of it now, of course, because they're still first year of things with Ryan and Brent Jones. But I'll be curious if that side of thing comes out more with our athletes too in a more explicit way than it has been beforehand, where it was kind of just funneled through the tech way.
I think you raise a good point because one update that we went over, I guess this was an early part of the fall, was the tech way switching from direct payments to athletes after the house settlement and switching to managing the relationships between athletes and other businesses in town.
Yeah,
I think and sort of tying together some threads that we always talk about, maybe it's not the Fortune 500s that you target, right? It's like how many of those Fortune 500s are actually making sort of consumer grade products,
fair,
right,
true.
that you're
Yeah,
going
yeah,
to associate athletes with. Maybe it's your local, like you can do two Fortune 500s or you can do like several dozen smaller mid-sized businesses,
yeah,
right, in and
yeah,
around the metro area or in and around the state of Georgia, just because you have a bunch of different tech fans that are in the metro area,
yeah.
that may own mid-sized businesses that may be looking for an advertising boost. So that's also an opportunity there too, right, with the tech way and with some of these deals and getting athletes on board with some of these deals in that way.
we'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes.
Indeed.
Another thing, we'll see how it goes. It's men's basketball season still. Jake is already on to baseball season, but it is incontrovertibly still men's basketball season. They are 11-8 on the year. They are 127th in the latest Ken Palm rankings and 134th in the latest Torvik rankings. They had an ignominious loss to Pitt, in which they trailed by 20 for most of the game, in a game that ended 89-66. And then just out of nowhere victory in Raleigh at NC State over the 24th ranked Ken Pom team, 78-74. I, what? This is my
Yeah,
reaction. Just like, what? What?
Like, and here's the thing. Here's the thing. The Pitt loss was not an upset. Like that, you frame it almost like, oh, I mean, you don't want to lose by 23 at home. By all the numbers, Pitt is better than Georgia Tech. I mean,
yeah,
should it have been that bad? No. Was it embarrassing? Yes.
yeah.
It's not like Georgia Tech got, upset in their own building type of thing, but yet they go on the road, a place that's always been kind of odd. Going to Raleigh in just about every sport is weird. I don't know how to describe it. It just is. Volleyball, women's hoops, men's hoops, football, baseball. It's always strange. But guys, I don't know. I did not did not love everything I was seeing against NC State, and yet we won. So like, what I don't know. How do you even go from there? It's
That
not like this team has given us a direction. These are just feels like two outlier data points, just way high and way low from
right.
maybe what this team is? Question
If
mark?
it feels kind of random just because like NC State just had a really
Yeah.
bad shooting day too, and we had a really good shooting
Yeah.
day, and those lines just crossed just barely enough, and we had a terrible free throw shooting day. Like we only shot 50% from
Awful.
the line. There's underlying things in this game that be like, why did we win? And it's just because it's college basketball, and sometimes you can get away with that kind of stuff sometimes. But yeah,
It
for the
was not a
most part.
convincing win.
No, not at all. That's the thing. It was not convincing. I mean, we shot over 50%. NC State was somewhere in the low 30s. So in that, when you're shooting that like that, that's going to make a difference. It was good to see Akai Fleming, Kawasi, and Washington all do really well. Biden Dongo has been not important lately, which is really frustrating. Like that was like between him and now Mo Silla hasn't been playing either. He's been hurt, but I mean the idea was Mo Silla plus Bidadongo. You've got some serious presence up in the front court and by the glass, and that just hasn't been a thing that we've been super see. I mean, when Mo played, Mo's is good, but he hasn't been playing, and we're not seeing by like truly step in and fill it and take a leap that he needs to take if a key guy's going to be gone, and it's coming down to our point guards. Which I mean, hey, Kawasi. I was at the pit game. There was no one trying as hard as Kawasi on our team that entire game. Like that guy, as much as he was getting no help, but that man was doing everything he can. He was trying to get to the rim. He was finding himself open. Like he was doing everything he could. But my God, they don't the energy is never there often enough for it, and that's something that Damon hasn't necessarily been able to bring all these 3 years. Like
Hmm.
we will play up for Duke, we will play up for North Carolina because they are Duke and North Carolina.
And
But let me tell you, if the team ain't a sexy that if it doesn't have a sexy name next to it, it's like they don't bother. Like it's
yeah,
so frustrating.
that was the whole non-con slate, Jack.
Yeah, yeah. Like we just started inventing
And they
schools
still
and
lost
invite.
to. I was
Yeah,
gonna say they still lost to any team with a pulse that they
right.
played.
We could invent Northwest Vermont and we'd probably play them close. Like I like who
I
if
mean,
there is a North.
to your point, they went to OT versus Maryland Eastern Shore, a school
Right.
I did not know existed before November.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's notoriously unsuccessful in the sport,
Yes.
quite notably
Like
over a long
they're
span of
they're
time.
terrible. Now we did
I'm
do
trying not to be mean here. Like I'm sure that,
no, these are
they're
all
nice
facts though.
boys,
Like this is all
you
factual
know.
stuff. Like this has been the trend for 3 years. I mean, y'all can listen, figure out where we're headed with this in terms of why we're talking about it in this light, but uh, they can't. It's not a thing that's sustainable. They've not shown a sustained stretch of success that that can be that can be replicated for one that can work. Like last year, they were decently weirdly okay when they had seven available players or whatever it was when half the team was hurt. But it's like that's not sustainable. That's not what you can just do over and over and over again. And then they get comfortable, and then the things just fall apart. Like they don't. It just never is. I've never felt like they understood how to play together in a way that matters, in a way that seems like one cohesive unit. And that the pit game was emblematic of that, just in terms of how on an island it seemed Reeves was.
So let's set the stage here, because Jack, you're right. We're going to talk about Damon Stoudamire's job, everyone's favorite topic of discussion these days. In 2023, when Josh Pastner was fired, Georgia Tech ended the season with a 136th in the nation Torvik rank. They started the next year at 81, but set that aside. They are now 134 heading into today. The, I mean, two slots in a 300, 400 person or 300, 400 team ranking is effectively nothing. If you believe the Torvik talent rankings, which I have some confusion about, but I will post this for discussion. 24-25, so last season, was Tech's least talented team since 2008, the beginning of the Torvik era, quote unquote. And 25-26 is Tech's most talented team since Paul Hewitt. It is difficult for me to see where this is going other than a unceremonious thank you and goodbye on March 8th.
And you
I
say,
really
yeah,
don't think I don't see where else this is going.
and of course, like you mentioned, like that those talent ratings could be somewhat off or whatnot. But like, who is getting drafted off this team? There's well, there were multiple Pastner players that were like, yeah, those guys should be in the NBA. Josh Okogie started last night for the Rockets. Like he is still making actual differences in the NBA right now. Jose is doing his thing. I think Moses has faded out at this point, but uh, like
Hey, Jordan Usher got a contract somewhere to play professional,
Usher,
right? Can't
yeah,
forget
yeah.
about him.
No, Usher, yeah, Usher. Hell, imagine if we had Jordan Usher on this team. Like how different everything. Like literally just Jordan Usher, who was not the number one guy on the team ever, but he was a very important 3-4 guy the entire
Well, he's
run.
the glue guy, right? That's the
Ima
one. That's the thing that we
Imagine
said
if
about him all
this
the
team
time.
had Todrick Jackson. That's what I'm hearing. Ben Lammers played in Berlin and Spain
Ben,
for
yeah,
years.
Lambert's played pro, yeah. Like
He's
and now
still in
so,
Eurobasket.
That
some of
might
these.
be a Brian Gregory credit, though. I must say,
That's true.
I
That
must
could have
give some
been.
credit.
Even
Yeah.
then, though, it's like I mean, yeah, baby. I mean, Mo, of course, has sample size isn't enough here, and when he's healthy, he was good. Um, but again, like yeah, it's the things turned into it. It doesn't seem like they what we in theory had. Like this was supposed to be the year of like, okay, now he's finally got some talent here. Cole Kerouac should actually be half of something, and none of that's happened. Like none of the guys are like turning into superstars. Now, superstars is a lot to ask about, but it's like we're not seeing upside happen basically anywhere in a way that matters, and that shows that hey, here's how Damon is making this team better from where it started.
And it's also not like this is a young roster, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
average age of
Well,
this roster has consistently trended up. Obviously, some of that is trends of the game affected, like the transfer portal and everything, where you have to backfill with older players. But like the age distribution on this roster, just reading from the players' stats: senior, junior, senior, freshman, junior, sophomore, senior, freshman, sophomore, freshman, freshman, freshman. And that's from again from Torvik.com, bartorvik.com. Like the age curve here or the age distribution here is not like, oh, they're a young team, they're going to figure it out, right? Like this is just this team is like where you want to be. Like the distribution of ages is where you want to be in terms of roster construction. Like a good size, like a good number of very experienced players, and then a couple of guys that you're betting on potential for in rotation, and they're not getting a ton of minutes, but you're betting on rotation, and it's just not happening. Like it's simply not happening. There is so much red on this ledger of losses. Like they lost 3 games to DePaul, Drake, and Mississippi State. Say what you will about the SEC being a basketball conference now, but that was just in the middle of or the end of November to into December, and just 3 straight losses, which they looked anemic. They posted game scores of 37, 18, and 24. Those 3 teams are combined like right around 150 rank in the Torvik rankings. Like those are equivalent teams that you put up mediocre performances against. Like this is frankly gotten pretty ridiculous. I know we don't want to be mean, but I feel like this is a calling a
we've
spade paid thing.
we've got a standard. We've got a standard. We've got a level of competition we have to play against every year in the conference, and not every year is the greatest year for the ACC anymore. But you still gotta put up a real fight here. And yes, we don't have as many resources as a lot of other teams, and that's a thing that I know Ryan's going to be tackling coming up soon, just in terms of hey, we've figured out football, figured out everything else, now you got to go move on to the next thing, and that's basketball. J Bat sadly like got David established and then left the building probably a little too soon before really tackling that project in a bigger way because I mean, we're losing the arms race in the conference too for basketball specifically. We've done a lot for football recently, we've done a lot for just the entire AT fund recently, but particularly for basketball, there's still a lot of work to be done there. Um, and there's only so much that the existing brass that has been donating to the program and things like that can do. They're not going to be like, all right, here's 15 million more dollars. Like that's not a thing for existing for most of the existing donors and things like that. So that's gonna be the next big puzzle to solve for the administration. Is all right, where can we find the money for this team because it's not going to happen without it. These guys can just go follow money. It's a 5-person sport on the floor at a time. So it's really easy to just go play wherever you get the most cash, and we are not winning that battle right now.
I mean, I think there's also sort of the like just where the market is in college basketball right now. Like we said, that SEC the SEC's increasing dominance in college basketball being driven by in what it looks like to me. Hey, we're now losing out on these guys in the football transfer market. We might as well pay like the same price or the prices that we have been paying for basketball players and get much better at basketball.
Yep.
right? That's sort of the effect that we're seeing that we used to see in football recruiting now translating down to basketball recruiting for Tech. And it's just weird to square the circle of this is Tech's most talented team since Paul Hewitt. And they are still probably going to go under 500
Yeah.
in an expanded conference in which they won ten conference games last year with the least talented team
Yeah, they put together
in
some
the
real
last 20
wins.
years.
Yeah, they put together some real wins last year. Like there was something there. That's why we were hopeful about this year. It's like, okay, if they could do that with that, what imagine finally like a full-fledged team here and there's
It just
very
hasn't
little
come together.
no that they haven't at all. So, uh
There's an
yeah.
argument to be made. It's like 2.5 years is pretty quick to yank the ripcord, but I do not foresee this getting much better. I
There's
do
some
not think
yeah.
that it is worth to go into to fall of 2026 and try to dial this together again.
No, and there's not like a core. I'm like, yeah, let's rally behind that too. Right. That like that they haven't played it in a way. I'm like, okay, I can see how this can work in the future. That they just haven't played to that level. Now maybe that's the thing that can still happen this month, like this month in February and early March. Like they still absolutely could be like, all right, it just took them 3 months, but hey, they finally figured it out. Problem is though, is you can't just take 3 months to figure your team out unless you like somehow win your unless you somehow win your conference and get into the tournament that way. Like you gotta play better from the beginning. That's the main thing. This team starts out slow, and slower before they finally get their act together usually. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we are like, okay, we're talking not talking North Carolina State level wins later in the year, but we're talking like, okay, they've found a way to win 3 out of 4, or maybe a 3 out of 6 run kind of thing. Um, but
But
it's gonna
like
be
3 out of 6 run, Jack. That's
that's improvement. It's gonna be improvement. It's also gonna be too little, too late when that by the time that would come.
The only team that is remaining on their schedule that is in the same Torvik tier as them, which is Torvik tier 3, is Florida State, and that is at the end of February. I just want to read the schedule out here and also the estimated margins of victory for every other single team that's left here. Clemson at home plus 9.8, Virginia Tech plus 12, North Carolina plus 7, California away 10, Stanford away 10, Wake Forest at home 3, Notre Dame away 8.4, Virginia at home 14, Louisville away 24, Florida State minus 2.5, so a victory by 2.5 points at home. At home versus California, 2.5 points. Um, and then away to Clemson on the last weekend of the season before the conference tournament. Clemson would win by 18 points. There are very few reasons for hope just on a schedule basis, right? What you have
yeah.
already done and what you have proven thus far, there are very few reasons for me to be effusively positive. Their projected record as of right now in the ACC is 5-13.
Oh, oh God.
Their projected record overall is 14-17. I understand like this is I don't think this is a situation where like this is Georgia Tech and the standard is the standard of like being a tournament contender, right? Like
Yeah.
that is not the situation here. I think something that I think about a lot um, back from the Jeff era of football is like just don't be embarrassing. Like look like a competent basketball team, right? And they do it in stretches here. I want to make sure credit is like
Yeah.
give credit where
Yeah.
credit is due, right? They were in the rivalry game until basically the very end. They were in this game versus Duke until the very end. But like they played Miami tight late. Like but they need to win these games. At a certain point, you cannot thrive off of moral victories.
Nope. Nope.
And I mean, to be fair, moral victories are more than what Jeff did, but to the point, it's like you cannot be putting together nearly 30-point like constant nearly 30-point margins or losing margins versus Pittsburgh. You cannot nearly lose to Maryland Eastern Shore, even if like one-off games are weird, right? Like you should be able to press an advantage when you have it, and you should be able to kill games off when you're able to. And they are just not able to do that. It's also weird to be talking about this when they're technically 3 games over 500, but like they have not looked inspiring at any
No.
point this season.
No, not in the slightest.
I think I've said,
Well,
I think,
can I talk
go
about
for it.
something that is inspiring?
Yes.
This is a great
Yes.
segue, by the way.
Yes. I'm talking about Section 103. Section 103 is the best place to find Georgia Tech apparel. What Steven's done to build that from the ground up is inspiring to me, and I appreciate his partnership here on our podcast. They've got 6 schools over there now. By now, I'm sure you've heard Clemson, Georgia Southern, Georgia Tech, Kennesaw State, LSU, South Florida. Tell your friends, use our code FTRS 10% off, and remember free shipping on orders over $100 every day. And you want to know what else is inspiring? Women's basketball. They are under 500. They're at 84th in the Torvik. Not world beaters, but at 7 and 10 with a win over a pretty good Clemson team this week, 58-55. Yin and Yang, a loss to a Duke team that's 15th in Torvik, 93 to 46 at Cameron Indoor. Not ideal. Gents, I think we found out pretty clearly what the ceiling for this team is this week. Um, because if you look back at some of the other games that they've played against similar, let's say, Duke-ish, Duke-ish criteria, right? So if you get your West Virginia in the mix, that was an 82-50 loss earlier in the year. NC State 87-58. I'm feeling like top 25 may be gettable. Top 15, top 10, maybe not. Right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Notre Dame was I believe 19th and we beat them. Uh, so yeah, they can get in that realm. Yeah, they can sort of push that realm, but it's hard. Also, they're 8 and 11. We forgot
Yeah.
to update the record on our sheet.
Oh, and
Um,
and Duke is also 10th in Torvik now, not 15th.
yeah.
So
So like,
there
yeah,
you
no,
go.
Duke was very very good. They were. I took a look at that score yesterday. I'm like, I don't think I need to watch this while the NFL's on. It was. You could tell what was going on from afar pretty easily just from the scoreboard. Um,
I'm
but
I'm not
there's
going to say that they're a tournament caliber team by any regard. I think there's still enough losable games on the schedule.
yeah,
Louisville, North Carolina is coming up Thursday. It's at home, but they're 18th. They're pretty good. And then
yeah,
you got, the standard, 30 to 60 range type of games. There's too many losable games to be like, okay,
yeah.
this team could go on a run, but they
I'll be
certainly punch
yeah.
up against a Clemson or a but SMU. Well, I guess
Yeah,
they're better than SMU, but a Notre
yeah.
Dame, right? A team that's ostensibly better by ranking, not necessarily by result. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna try to go to this North Carolina game on Thursday because I'm curious where they land after this. Like, this is a very interesting test case of okay, you pull off. You've now had two very good home wins between Clemson and Notre Dame, which is progress coming off of when they were losing to Princeton at home earlier this year. Um, what's the rebound? How does this team rebound? Because we saw
mhm.
we saw some Nell teams lose absolutely just terrible games, and it just be part of this backslide to end the season. And I'd be like, okay, how does a Karen led team respond? Where does that energy level land in a game like this, or just a whole weekend like at FSU? I think is part of that sample size. We'll see here.
I want to add here, they were on a pretty good run
Yeah,
ahead of this
yeah,
Duke game. Like they had 5 games here with above 85 or above 84 game scores on Torvik. So they were putting together pretty consistent performances out of the Christmas break or like into the new year. And this is just like, yeah, you just meet your maker at some level with
yeah,
losing by
yep,
50.
yep,
Um, and hopefully this game versus North Carolina is not the same thing, but like they are the same caliber of opponent. I would actually argue that the next stretch is more what I'm looking for. So it's Florida State, who's 100th, is ranked 100th in Torvik.
But has been a
Syracuse,
total bugaboo for this team for the last as long as I can remember. You know,
right,
yes, yes,
right. So throw out the tier one team, but tier three Florida State, tier one Syracuse, but they're 41st.
on the
Boston
road.
College, at home. So
Yeah.
and then Cal, 48th, who's also tier three. I don't know how these tiers work. Anyway,
It's the quads. Actually, you get more
oh
credit if you beat a team on the road or at a neutral site
yeah, but how is 41 one and 43? I don't know. It's
because it's on
RPI
the
quads,
road.
I guess.
It's on the road. It's your RPI quads
Uh,
or your net quads.
um,
Yeah.
Great. Math is hard. Anyway, that's kind of the four-game set that I would look at. Maybe you throw out Carolina, maybe you throw out Syracuse too, but like that's kind of the four-game set that I want to see real growth and like potential to grow into a tournament team next year, right? Like the back couple of games of the slate, I don't know if there's a ton we can learn from like VT and Louisville, but
But I would argue there is. Can I tell you why?
go for it.
Um, if you look at how Tech's utilization and minutes have been shaking out so far this year, Talia Walker, Erica Moon, the two younger players that have been seeing playing time are actually on the floor this first and third most of anyone on the team. I read between the lines, and I like that. I like, that you kind of have to make do with transfers and older players and just getting rolling a team out there on the floor for this year, right? But if you're down the stretch and you can say, hey, this is what we're seeing from folks who are going to get another lap around the sun, if you will, I think that's pretty good to see, at least to me. I don't know. Maybe wiser minds may differ. Efficiency on that and whatnot be regarded there, but at the very least they're getting playing time. I think you can at least get some thing to build around for a little bit of experience there, if that makes sense.
It's weird that both the men's and women's basketball teams are probably going to end up with the same record on the season, and we are going to feel diametrically opposed on the progress
Well,
or lack thereof that both
the,
of them
the,
have made.
the situations aren't even comparable. I would
Oh
I
yeah,
would say. I mean,
absolutely.
like Bayandongo, this is his third year at Tech. Damon Stoudamire, third year at Tech. You know, coach coach walked into a mass exodus. Karen Blair did on the women's side, and kind of had to make do with what we got. Frankly, it's a
Yeah,
miracle that anyone was
they
there to
put that
keep the lights on for a week or two there, right?
they put that team together on the fly. Yeah, they really did.
Yeah. And I would
Duct tape and
argue,
super
I
glue.
would I would argue that you're at least seeing some momentum positively. Obviously, getting the doors absolutely blown off at Duke is maybe hey, they're running out of steam a little bit potentially. But I don't know. Wofford, SMU, not necessarily amazing, but beating SMU and Clemson and barely falling to Virginia, I think that's about as good of a stretch as I would have expected a month and a half ago. So,
They've got, let's see, five ACC wins on the board already.
mhm.
One, two. No, wait, one, two,
Three.
three ACC wins on the board. I can't count.
Yeah.
And apparently they're projected to get four more somewhere. I am,
Boston College, Pitt,
and
for
then
sure.
two toss-ups. You say
Yeah.
maybe my like two of Miami, Cal,
Florida State,
and Clemson again.
Florida State.
Yeah, from Florida State too.
Yeah.
This schedule, I think, works out better for them than it does the men. Like, there's a
Well,
couple
and
more winnable games in here than they are for the men.
and and the reason that they entered conference play with a record below 500 is because they were actually reasonably challenged. Granted, they lost a clunker to Jacksonville. They lost a home game to Princeton, right? You can caveat that this way and that, but I mean, in terms of who they saw, Princeton is a top 50 team. UGA, St. John's, Florida, A&M, West Virginia. Those are all pretty good programs. And in fact, Florida, West Virginia, the school out east, like that's pretty top tier talent. It's certainly much better than anything the men saw. So.
All right. I think that's about it on basketball. Let's move on to swim and dive, who also faced Duke this past weekend. Actually, the men won 175th to 106, and the women lost 169 to 113. Max Fowler broke the program record in the 3-meter dive with 3-meter dive competition with 471 points. And our previous record holder was old podcast heads may remember Ruben Lechuga, who had 439 points on the dive. A couple of other program or close to program records here. Vivian Rothwell, third fastest 100 back in program history. Phoebe Wright, the fourth fastest 200 back in program history, and Tuncer Burger Turk, the sixth fastest 1,000 free in program history. Gents, any other notes on swim and dive? Anything we want to dive in on here?
We should.
Yeah, I'm about to tell you why I think that
I'm glad
the
that pun
women's
went over both
result.
of your heads.
I
Really
did. I
glad.
wasn't gonna acknowledge
I
it. That's how
I
bad it
wasn't either.
was.
I'm
Boo.
about to tell you why I think the women's loss is a moral victory, and that is because Duke is a ranked program. They sit at 20th in the poll. Obviously, you want to win, but you set your calibration of your expectations at a certain spot, and being it within 50, I'd say on the road, but there's not really too much of a home away difference. I would gander for
Not in
swimming,
swimming.
but
No.
within 50, 60 points against a ranked team, honestly, I'll take it. It that's my moral victory, right? That's more of a candle than I think we've held up against a top 20 type of program on
Yeah.
that side in at least a minute. So you know what? Take it. Vivian Rothwell, Phoebe Wright, yes, they'll make that top 10 list and top 10 of all time there. But the fact that we're seeing a good number of those from last week in this, good for them. Thumbs up. We'll see
Yeah.
what happens when they taper. That's kind of where I'm at with both
Right.
programs, honestly. But
They we'll have a lot of these kinds of updates. They swim again this weekend, and I'm sure we'll have some more like, oh, they were eighth fastest in whatever event, things like that. We should note Max Fowler's record was like a absolute demolishing of the old one. Like
yeah,
he
yeah.
basically had all of his dives were effectively exceptionally good. Like it is very hard to rack up that many points in a dive competition, and that's he's been
He
the guy
did.
that's been like, hey, this guy could maybe fight in NCAAs. You never know. And he never did this. He never did this nowhere. So as much as Lechuga's record is good as well, like beating it by what 32 points is that's really something. That is
I
a
need
significant step up.
I need to unbreak the cap rankings. I never went through and retooled everything after USA Swimming changed all their time stuff, and I've been a busy man lately the last year or so. So this is a good reminder to maybe get in there if I get the chance. But I'm gonna forecast ahead a little bit here. South Carolina is 17th in the rankings on the women's
Oh,
side. I believe they're unranked on the men's side. If we can see a similar performance against South Carolina as we saw against Duke from the women, a win from the men, maybe,
mm,
maybe, big asterisk, maybe. That'd be pretty interesting to me. I'd certainly be intrigued by that, but should give us at least another data point. Miami, as a reminder, only has men's diving and a women's team, so no, nothing on the men's side they're doing, and their South Carolina team is not ranked. So hopefully that's a win. If you lose to Miami on the men's side,
oh no.
bad.
Yes.
That's like
Yeah, not great.
everyone is down with the flu and no one swam kind of sitch. So, but yeah,
Womp womp. Let's talk men's tennis, shall we? Next up, a inauspicious loss to Squat East to start the week. We don't have to spend a ton of time on that, but we can talk about a victory, 5-2 victory over Liberty. Captured the or actually split the doubles point here with Liberty. I'm not seeing the full picture on the score, but then posted a bunch of singles victories to really take this home. Almost swept the singles. Just had one tiebreaker not fall their way. Pretty competitive here versus Liberty, wouldn't you say, gents?
yeah. You kind of want to be, taking care of teams that are, not power schools in tennis. Maybe throw the Ivies. They're usually pretty good at tennis and swimming and things of that nature. But yeah, definitely good to see a win. Needed to see a win. I'll note that the court that finished last for singles was court six. So when you think about 4-0 or like a 4 something score, you can think about this one as 4-1. Or I guess, yeah, 4-1, 4-1, 5-1, 5-2 is how it went. So that makes me feel a little bit better. The doubles point was a little tough. Tech was tied on court one. Did kind of get handled on court two. A little bit of something to keep an eye on, maybe. But court three, they did just barely lose in a tiebreak. So, you know, handled it. Win. On to Wofford, I believe, Jack. They're live right now. Is that correct?
They're done. They won 4-0.
Oh, oh, lovely. Well, there you go. That's a result we want to see. So good
It
stuff.
was a massive drubbing, and there were no close matches.
Hooray! Well, and they're
That's
off for
what you
like a
want to see.
week, so to play your 3 matches, get to class this week, and come back in a week and a half. So,
Yeah, they're next in action on the 31st of January versus UNC Wilmington. Let's flip over to the women's side of Ken Byers. They not only beat, they drubbed Georgia State in the local rivalry 7-0. And that was about it. They have a locked and loaded slate for the next couple of weeks. They're at Auburn. They're at the ITA kickoff this week. And then they'll also, I mean, they're at the ITA kickoff all week. So they play Santa Barbara and then Ohio State or Iowa after that. But any news and notes from the Georgia State game here, gents?
It's interesting how they didn't play full. They did not play full third sets. They just played tiebreaker super sets just to 10 points. So that's not
that
standard, but it is an option if you don't want to play an entire third set.
that tells me it was 4-0 somewhere already.
Yep, that's my guess too.
Based
Yep.
based on all these. So we're about to find out about this team this week.
Like I
They've been
said,
I was gonna say they've been up and down the last couple of years, so I think it'll be really interesting to see, 4 or 3 pretty good matchups coming up in the next 7 days. So
Auburn tomorrow. They will play at Auburn tomorrow. And then at the weekend, they will be at the ITA kickoff in Columbus, hosted by Ohio State. Gents, any other news and notes from around the flats?
baseball's
Base
fifth, oh fourth, sorry, fourth, fifth, second.
Technically
What is it?
both. Technically both. Fifth in the D1 baseball poll, fourth in the Baseball America preseason poll. It's a lot of hype. It is a lot of
hype.
hype. Dangerous levels. Very, very
Yes.
dangerous levels.
This
Uh,
Hooray!
a good thing this year is they actually got to start practicing together sooner. I think that with how some calendar changes worked out, they were practicing together sooner than they usually would be. Uh, which for me, what that tells me is, I mean, is that's better for the pitching, I think, especially because maybe you could have guided stretching out of the arms sooner than you would beforehand, so you can maybe get some nominal additional length in some guys to start the year. You never know. But that is not nothing. The guys have been hitting all year. They played fall ball, they played summer ball, and things like that. But I think that's good for the pitching arms just to get more face time with the coaching staff in a more in the proper setting, the NCAA sanctions and things like that. So uh, that could mean absolutely nothing. I could just be that it could blow up in our faces and they're winning games 15-13 again this year. Who the hell knows? But yeah,
Please
people think
no. I don't
people
want
think we're
more
good.
15-13. I can't do it.
We played too many. We're gonna have at least a few of them. There's too many games to not have it happen. But yeah, I'm hoping there's a lot of hope here. We just need to see these games start. I'm just waiting for I just want these games to start. That's it. We're waiting for this team.
Last note from me. We talked last time about Tech hosting Bruno Mars's tour. He actually added a second night. So a lot more money coming into Georgia Tech from that tour. So that's nice. More revenue generation for the revenue generation machine. It's always a nice thing.
Yes.
Cool.
I think I got touched on the hell of a podcast. If you haven't listened to, that's a mandatory homework assignment for listeners of our podcast. But Ryan Alpert did mention trying to get more things going on at Bobby Dodd, whether that's in the stadium itself or using its other facilities. That's music to my ears, guys. So even if
Should
I
they?
may not be there for Bruno
Boo.
Mars,
Can
there
we
you
still
go.
can we still take us to our live show at Bobby Dodd? That is never going to happen.
There'll be like 8 people there, Jack.
Yeah,
Come
I
on.
know it'd be great.
Uh, it's I mean, that's why they put the turf in like 6 years ago now.
Right, you
Might
have
as
you
well
have you
use
have
it.
to podcast
They'll give
on
us
turf.
court six. They'll give us court six down at the tennis thing. They're
That that
like, go all the
Well,
way to
no
the end.
seats.
that one's not
No
even
seats.
named.
They'll
That one's
just
not
I
even named.
know.
That's just court six. That's not the Kuchar court or anything like that.
You don't get any seats. All you get, you all get the Papa Squat on the bare tennis floor. That's it.
Like, go sit on the ground.
It's comfy. It's comfy. It's scenic.
I've recorded this podcast inside Russ Chandler before at
Mhm.
Tech Green with Chad, next to O'Keefe with Akshay, and I think and then interviews in the O'Keefe gym with Michelle Collier. So we do need to
We've
add
done
more
a
buildings and spaces.
we've done a couple at Bobby Dodd. Me
We
me
got to
and
get
Akshay
one
back
in
in the
New
Before
day.
me,
Fanning. We got
Yeah.
to get one in Fanning when it opens.
that could be fun. That could be fun.
Yeah. Or
They got
or the
do
big
they
room at
have
the
a
top of
podcast studio?
Crosland,
I don't know. I
perhaps.
mean, they're just using existing camera equipment and using one of the suites in Bobby Dodd right now, which won't exist once they renovate it anyways. So
Look, podcast studios I hear are the new hotness to put in major administrative buildings.
it's crazy how the Pete Davidson podcast is really just a talk show on Netflix that they're advertising as a podcast. I mean, we could go full circle. I don't know. When does this turn
When is
into a
our
TV show?
Netflix deal? We could be in theaters. We could do 45-day runs in theaters with the podcast.
For 2 years until they cut that off.
Look, it'll be great. It'll be great.
I see what you did there, Jack.
Yes.
All right. Well,
Uh,
I think that's all for us this week. A light breezy 40 minutes, 45 minutes, perhaps. But gents, until we speak again, gameonpaper.com. Jack and Akshay have previewed the game literally on a piece of paper because there's only one. It's tonight. By the time you see this, it's too late. By the time you hear this, it's too late. But you can always go check them out over on Blue Sky, Game on Paper. You can find us at fromtherumbleseat.com. You can email us at fromtherumbleseat@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you about how to make this podcast better. You can find us on Blue Sky, FTR's blog, me, Jack. Game on Paper. Section 103 is on Instagram at Section 103. You can find them at section103.com. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube at From the Rumble Seat. And you can find this podcast wherever fine podcasts are distributed. Till we speak again, good night, good luck. Go Jackets.